read 6 books in the month of December. Let's talk about them. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is my December reading wrap up. So I'm going to be reviewing the 6 books that I read in the month of December. And if you are new here, how I do my wrap ups is I start with the books I liked the least, and then I work my way up to the books I like the most. So I start with rants and then end on raves. So as usual on my channel, I read a mixture of literary fiction, horror thriller, and one transgressive fiction satire book this month. Those tend to be my typical genres of choice. I do have 1 or 2 rants that I need to go on first. The first rant is Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy. This was my 1-star book in December. Oh my god, this was so bad. And I was not expecting to go in hating this book because I actually liked Nat Cassidy. I liked Mary and I loved Nestlings by him. So I was really looking forward to reading this novella that came out. I don't know, his horror just does it for me. Like I find his writing to be entertaining, and this was the total opposite. This was goofy. So this was my Patreon book club pick for the month of December. So my patrons and I read this, and I think all of us hated this. I honestly don't know if there's a single person that actually enjoyed this book more than like a 3-star. We all pretty much sat together and ranted about this book. But so this one is about this guy. He is traveling. He's like in his 20s, I think. I don't know. But regardless, he's traveling home to go see his grandmother who just suffered from a really bad stroke. And like his family, they're all traveling to go be with her. So he is driving and he decides to stop at this rest stop to basically use the bathroom, get snacks, whatever. So when he stops there, he gets locked in the bathroom. So someone deliberately locks him in this bathroom and things kind of go from there. So I was really excited in the beginning of this book because I was like, oh, maybe this will be like a Saw situation. Like maybe he's gonna have to like saw his arms off to get out of the bathroom. Like they have him locked in there. It was this like isolated setting. And I was really looking forward to seeing where this went because a lot of people are saying that this was like extreme horror, and I don't know. People are saying crazy things about this book online, and this was so goofy and tedious and ridiculous. I mean, snakes, spiders, googly eyes, just ridiculous, okay? And then when things finally started happening, it was more ridiculous and unbelievable, and it just went in so many directions but never actually ended up going anywhere. And I just felt like this had so many opportunities to really be scary or be extreme or just do something to the reader to freak the reader out, and it just did not, it didn't take any opportunities. It just kept switching from this to that to this to that, and nothing actually ended up happening or being fleshed out. And then he does say that this is like a tribute to indie horror, and it was almost like he was writing poorly on purpose. I don't know what this was, but the writing was horrible. Nothing like his other books. It just felt like something that was written one night, like real quick, slapped together, and then sent to a publisher, like, okay, here you go. It was just very inconsistent. The tone was off. It was goofy as hell. The narrator was annoying as hell. And then we get to this part where there were condom water balloons being thrown. These 2 grown men were fighting over a girl and throwing condom water balloons at one another. When I say goofy, like this is what I mean. Fucking goofy. What people are saying, this is extreme horror. What planet? And on what planet? On what planet? Janet? I'm very confused by this one. I'm very confused. Anyways, then I decided to pick up the new Alice Feeney book, Beautiful Ugly. So this one came out on Book of the Month, and I was like, you know what? I don't read a ton of thrillers, but she is an author that her last 2 books before this one I was not a big fan of, but I really, really love her older thrillers. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this book a chance. So I picked this one up, and this was a 2-star book for me. When I tell you that I don't remember this book, I genuinely don't remember this book. I don't remember reading it. I couldn't tell you what happened in this book. This is about a writer. It's about a writer who, his wife disappears. That's it. His wife, one night he gets a call from his wife, and it's like this creepy. The first chapter was really creepy, and I loved the first chapter. It was suspenseful. It was weird. She basically disappears, and he has no idea. It's like so many years later, and he has no idea if she's even alive, or there's no leads. Like, it's just a cold case. And he gets told by his publisher or editor, whoever the hell she was, that there's this like remote house or cabin in Scotland where this writer used to always go before he passed away, and they're basically going to let him use this cabin to write his next novel because he's very uninspired. He's very just having a hard time writing. And so he goes to Scotland, and it's like this creepy little town. Everyone's really weird. And there are just more and more weird things he starts discovering about the previous writer that stayed there, and just about this little town in general. And also he keeps thinking that he's seeing his wife, so he's not sure if his wife is alive or dead. I feel like just by describing that, it's pretty easy to figure out already kind of what's going on. And then the explanation from there just ends up being over the top ridiculous. I hated this main character. He was so repetitive, and it was just like, oh, my wife, my wife, my wife, my wife, my wife. And I was like, I get it, you're grieving, I get it's hard, but he was very obnoxious. I just felt like this book was just dragging on and on and on. And then, like I said, a lot of the twists were very predictable. And then the actual explanation for those twists were just so ridiculous and goofy. I'm tired of the goofy twists that just don't make sense. I like things to be a little bit believable, and I just felt like this one was so unbelievable, and just I was rolling my eyes at the end of this book. I don't know what happened to Alice Feeney. Like I said, typically she entertains me. I feel like she has been kidnapped and was replaced by another author. This is a conspiracy. This is like the Avril Lavigne conspiracy. Something happened to Alice Feeney, and she is no longer with us. I'm telling you, like, there is something going on here, and I'm gonna figure out the case. I'm gonna crack this case, because the inconsistency of her novels is just mind-blowing. I lied. I have a third rant to go on. Not the best reading month. What It's Like in Words by Eliza Moss. I was really, really excited to pick this one up. This is another new release. I don't know what is going on with these new releases, but they are just not hitting lately. So this one is about this woman who's obsessed with a man. It's a typical Meg litfic read, but this woman is obsessed with this man. They are both writers, and so she of course is like obsessed with this guy, and he's a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. He's just a boy, she's just a girl. This book reads like Sally Rooney, Normal People. It kind of has that same premise, and just the way that it's written with the no quotation marks and the kind of stick figure people with shallow personalities. I don't know. It just reminds me of a Sally Rooney book. So I feel like if you like Sally Rooney, you might like this one. But I just felt very annoyed because I felt like our main character, although I I'm not the best when it comes to, listen, I'm just not the best when it comes to my judgments. I ignore red flags a lot, okay? But this was just like ignoring so many obvious red flags that it was irritating to read about. I'm like, girl, what are you doing? And like, that's saying a lot coming from me, you know? And then like more and more horrible things start happening, domestic violence and things of that nature. And the man was so irritating because he says honey. He has no personality other than calling her honey. He's like, honey, hey honey, honey, what are you doing? Honey, I told you not to do that, honey. Oh my God, count how many fucking times the word honey was used in this book. Like, if I took a shot every time, I'd be dead. This is insane. It was insufferable. So yeah, she has no personality other than discussing American politics and being an idiot. And he has no personality other than being abusive and using the word honey in every sentence. I was just so fucking done with this book by the time it ended. I do not recommend the writing in this one. It drove me insane. So that was my next 2-star book. And then the last 3 books that I have to talk about are books that I absolutely loved. So the first one being The Informers by Bret Easton Ellis. So this is Bret's little short story collection. I hate short stories with a passion, so I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this one, and I actually ended up loving this. Again, I feel like this is kind of an unpopular opinion because I always see people saying that they liked this one the least out of all his books. Like, it doesn't seem like a very well-loved one, but I ended up really enjoying this. I liked how all of the short stories, they kind of, you know, they all take place in LA, and we're following these different characters that are all connected in a way. So we'll read about like this person, and then the next story is about like their mom or whatever, you know, so you're reading these stories and they all kind of know one another, so it all takes place in the same area. And yeah, I just like the tone. I love his terrible rich people who do drugs and do terrible things, and the nihilistic undertone of this book. And some of the stories were not so great. Other ones were fantastic. Like, there's a blend of, you know, drugs and sex, and some of them are gory. I really ended up liking how interconnected all of these stories were, and I think they got better and better. Like, at the halfway mark, I was kind of like, okay, this is okay, I like it. But the second half of the stories, I ended up really, really loving. So yeah, I think this got better and better as I read it, and it just got to the point where I could not wait to finish it. Like, I flew through this one in like 2 days. I just kept reading and kept reading because like I said, as I was reading, I ended up liking the stories more and more and more as I went. So this was a pleasant surprise, and I'm so happy that I love this one. At the time of filming this, I'm officially done with all of Bret's backlist. So if you want a Bret Easton Ellis kind of overview and ranking video, let me know, because I do get a lot of questions like on his books, like which one should I start with, where do I start, what do you recommend, that sort of thing. So if you want just a Bret Easton Ellis coded video, I'll get out my Ray-Bans and I'll film that for you. Next, I did a reread of Adelaide by Genevieve Wheeler. I listened to this on audio when I was moving because I did move in December. Now I'm in this dark dungeon of an apartment that gets zero light. Zero light. Like, I have 2 lamps on, a ring light, and a camera light, and I still look like I look like I'm about to get killed in a snuff film. That's what McKay told me, and he is completely accurate. Oh, and I have a light on over there. So I have 3 lights, a ring light, and a camera light. I have 5 lights on, and I look like I'm about to die in a snuff film. So, yeah, I moved, and I did a reread of this on audio. First time I read this, it was 5 stars. Second time, I don't know if it's still 5 stars, but I still gave it 5 stars because I just feel very connected to the story and what was happening. So we're basically following this young woman, Adelaide, in her 20s, and she meets this guy that she's obsessed with. And she, you know, enters this relationship with him, and he becomes just very shitty, toxic, gaslights her, and we find out that his ex-girlfriend passes away, and the story kind of goes from there, and it's about grief and just toxic relationships. And I just really loved this one because I went through something similar, just in like a not so great relationship, and just the way that she felt and the things that she was going through was just very similar to my situation. So I just felt like that relatability factor of this one was super strong. So that's what I really, really loved about this book. Like, I cried so many times reading this. Again, rereading this, I felt very similar regarding a different situation. It's just, I feel like this is so relatable because every woman that loves this book says it's relatable. The writing is a little cringy, I must admit. It is a little bit cringy. I'm like, ooh, like, it's not your typical flowery literary book. It's OMG, we're listening to Ariana Grande, bitch. Like, that's this book. It's a little cringe, but if you can get past some of the cringy writing, very relatable story. And my favorite and last book of the month was Mad Woman by Chelsea Beaker. If you saw my best of the year video, this one was in there. So we are following this woman who, when she was younger, experienced a lot of childhood trauma, especially regarding her mother and father. Her father was super abusive, dealt with a lot of domestic violence in the household. And now in present day, she's older, she is like super into like whole foods and healthy stuff, and like, you know, has a family, and she changed her name, she changed everything, she moved, and no one knows like her real name or her real situation, her family life, that sort of thing. And now she starts getting letters from the woman's prison from her mom, and she's like, why am I getting these letters from my mom? Like, I haven't seen my mom in like 20 years. Like, what the hell is going on? Because she didn't think anyone would find her because she changed her name and everything. And so she's like, okay, what is happening? How does my mom know where I am? And so we start kind of learning what happened when she was younger, why she had to change her identity, what happened to her mom, and she's scared that these secrets are going to get out. That's basically this book. So like I said, you're slowly learning all these pieces to the puzzle. It's a drama. It's like a drama lit fic, but it does have some like thrillery type twists at the end. Nothing that was absolutely ridiculous or anything like that. It was just kind of like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I thought this was like lit fic, you know? So I do think that if you are someone who's a thriller reader and you want to start reading something more like slow-paced literary fiction, that sort of thing, this would be a good one for you. But also, I just think this one was so well done. It handled so many topics, like domestic violence and just like motherhood and womanhood and how your past and your trauma manifests as you get older and move through life. And I just think it was a great exploration of all those things. It handled those topics so beautifully, and I loved this book so much. I highly recommend this to literally everyone. Like, if you're looking, like I said, if you're a thriller reader, if you're a lit fic reader, kind of looking for like feminine rage type book, I would recommend this to so many people. This was so beautifully done, and I really would like to reread this in the future because I felt like I didn't give it enough time that I needed. Because I was literally in the middle of moving and so stressed. So I would like to actually sit down with this one day. But yeah, I love this one so much. So well done. So yeah, those were the 6 books that I read in December. If you read any of these and you liked them, let me know in the comments down below. If not, let me know what your favorite book you read in December was, and I will see you in my next video.